She stumbled into the ER barefoot, rain dripping from her tangled hair, a trembling newborn clutched tight against her chest. No one noticed her at first until she spoke 5 words that made time stop. "He's your great-grandson, Mr. Carter." The air snapped. Nurses froze. A monitor beeped too loudly, and one old man in the corner lifted his head. He had been slumped in his wheelchair like a shadow for hours, thin, silent, forgotten. But now, his cloudy eyes blinked once, then again, like the name she spoke had struck a memory he couldn't place. The girl's voice quivered. "His name is Eli." Nobody moved. "I didn't know where else to go," she whispered. The charge nurse, Carla, stepped forward slowly, instinct taking over where words failed. "Honey, come here. Sit down, you're shaking." But the girl didn't sit. She turned toward the wheelchair in the far corner, toward the old man with the hollow gaze, and she clutched the infant even closer, her voice catching like splinters in her throat. "His father, your grandson's gone." Mr. Walter Carter blinked again, lips parting slightly. "Gone?" The girl nodded, lips white. "Overdosed. Last week. I tried to find you. I didn't even know you were still alive." A single cough echoed in the room. The hum of the fluorescent lights sounded suddenly too loud. Carla took a step toward them both, hands up, voice calm but firm. "Let's get you both checked out, sweetheart. You're soaked. And the baby." But the girl looked only at the man. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He hadn't spoken a full sentence in months. Most of the staff assumed his mind had already begun to fray, eaten by years and silence and the long, slow death of outliving everyone you loved. But now he spoke. "You're Anna." She nodded, eyes wide with a child's kind of hope. "Joseph's girl." "Yes." And for a moment just one, Walter Carter sat up straighter, as if the weight of every year fell from his shoulders like dust. The baby stirred. Outside, the rain poured harder. Inside, no one moved. The hospital buzzed with quiet disbelief. Words spread faster than anyone expected, reaching from the ER to the cafeteria to the dim-lit geriatric ward 2 floors up. People whispered about the girl in wet jeans and the tiny newborn who had walked into a storm and delivered a piece of someone's soul back to them. Carla sat with Anna in the exam room, while a pediatric nurse checked baby Eli's vitals. Anna flinched when anyone touched her, but not out of fear for her. It was vigilance. She watched every movement around the baby like a hawk guarding a nest. Even when her eyes drooped with exhaustion, she forced them open again. Carla didn't ask too many questions. Not yet. Instead, she offered the kind of comfort only someone who had seen too much could give. "You did the right thing, coming here," she said softly. Anna nodded, but her eyes stayed on Eli. "I didn't know where else to go. Family's a good place to start." A pause. Anna said, "He didn't even know I was pregnant. Joseph, we weren't. We didn't even talk much. It just happened. And then he was gone. Drugs. Fentanyl. Laced with something else. They said he died instantly." Carla reached out and rested a hand on Anna's shoulder. The girl tensed, then slowly let her muscles settle. "You didn't do this alone," Carla said. "Not anymore." Anna's lip trembled. "I don't even know if I want to keep him." The words were barely a whisper, but they stabbed the room silent. Carla didn't flinch. "That's not a decision you have to make today." Anna looked up. I wanted him to meet his great-grandfather. I thought maybe someone could love him even if I couldn't." She looked ashamed the moment the words escaped. And in the next moment, Walter Carter rolled into the doorway. He hadn't used his wheelchair on his own in months. The nurses said he couldn't even find the strength to push forward. But somehow here he was. Carla's mouth parted. "Mr. Carter, how?" He didn't answer. He wheeled himself straight to Anna's side. And he said, "Can I hold him?" The child was no more than 7 pounds, red-faced and squirming. But when Walter took him into his arms, something in the room shifted. Anna gasped and almost pulled back, but the old man held Eli like glass tinder, reverent, with both hands trembling not from weakness, but awe. "I haven't held a baby since my son," he said. No one spoke. Walter looked down at the child in his arms. He's beautiful. He's ours. Anna covered her mouth with her hands, her body shaking with silent sobs. Carla turned away to hide her tears. 3 hours later, the social worker came. A middle-aged woman with practiced warmth and the quiet authority of someone who had seen the best and worst of humanity and knew how to protect both. Her name was May. She asked careful questions. Anna gave halting answers. Her mother had kicked her out months ago. Her father was in prison. She had slept in shelters, then in the back of a friend's car, then in an abandoned trailer. She had given birth 2 days ago in a bathroom, alone. And still, she had found her way here. I didn't even know if this was the right hospital, she said. But I remembered Joseph said his grandfather came here once, for a fall. I hoped. May nodded, writing notes in a small binder. Her eyes flicked toward Walter Carter, who still held the baby like a lifeline. Would you be open to temporary guardianship while we work things out? She asked him. He looked up. Yes, anything she needs. Anna looked stunned. But you don't even know me. Walter met her gaze. Your family. The next morning, the hospital's chaplain stopped by, drawn by the same wordless current that had carried the story through the building. He sat beside Walter and asked gently, How are you feeling? Walter looked at him and said, Alive. He wasn't being poetic. For the first time in years, he had a purpose. Anna had been offered a bed in the women's shelter near the hospital. But she refused. I'll stay, she said. I'll help with Eli. With Mr. Carter. The hospital let them stay in a recovery room that had just been vacated. They gave her scrubs to sleep in, brought her meals, even found a used stroller someone had left behind. By the end of the second day, Anna had changed her mind. I want to keep him, she whispered to Walter as they watched Eli sleep. If you'll help me. He nodded without hesitation. Outside, the world kept spinning. But inside room 213, a family was starting over. Not the way most people did. Not with champagne and balloons and clean baby blankets. But with second chances. With tired arms and broken hearts stitching themselves back together in silence. Walter kept saying the same thing every time he looked at Eli. He looks like Joseph. He looks like hope. And Anna? She stopped flinching when people touched her. She started holding the baby a little closer, singing to him when she thought no one was listening. And at night, when Walter fell asleep in the recliner beside her cot, she watched the old man's face soften in dreams and realized. Maybe they had saved each other. Maybe that's what family really meant. The hospital was not meant to be a home, but for the next few days, it became one. The staff called room 213 the Lighthouse, now, a nickname that spread from the night shift nurses to the janitors who left fresh flowers on the windowsill. It was strange how a place filled with pain could suddenly be filled with something like light. Walter, who used to sleep 18 hours a day and barely spoke, was now awake before dawn. He changed diapers with shaking hands, told Eli long stories from his younger days about dancing with his wife on a wooden porch in 1965, about fishing trips with Joseph when he was still small. Anna listened quietly, sometimes asking questions, sometimes just watching him like she couldn't quite believe he was real. On the third day, a small folding chair appeared beside his bed. Anna brought it. So you don't have to lean so far when you feed him, she said. Walter smiled. You thought of everything. Anna shrugged, but her eyes glimmered. I didn't think I'd like being a mom. You're doing fine. She looked down at her shoes. No one's ever said that before. I mean it, Walter replied. Later that day, May the social worker returned with files. There's a process to all this, she explained to them. Temporary custody. Paperwork. We need to file for guardianship. If Anna is willing to stay involved, we'll set up parental rights and support structures. I'll do whatever I need to, Anna said quickly. May glanced at Walter. And you? He nodded. I'll take care of them. But his voice cracked on the word them. Not because he doubted, because he understood the weight of it. May tapped the folder gently. There's something else. She pulled out a photograph, faded, bent at the corners. It was of a boy 10 or 11 laughing wildly with a bucket on his head and a water balloon in his hand. His eyes were bright, his grin uneven. Walter's hand shook as he took it. "Joseph," he whispered. Anna leaned over. "Where was that taken?" "Backyard. One summer. He used to wear that damn bucket like a helmet and pretend he was a soldier." Walter exhaled shakily. "I didn't know you had this. I found it in his things. I thought you might want it." Walter pressed the photo to his chest. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Anna touched his shoulder. "He would have liked knowing you held his son." Walter didn't answer. He didn't have to. The nights were the hardest. Eli had colic, his cries shrill, constant between midnight and 3. Anna rocked him against her chest, humming soft lullabies through clenched teeth, her face pale with exhaustion. Walter, even in his state, would wheel himself over at least once each night, offer to take over for 10 minutes so she could rest her eyes. One night, he said, "You're not alone, you know." Anna didn't respond at first, but eventually she said, "I'm scared." "Me too." The next night, she cried when she couldn't soothe the baby. Walter took him, patted his back, and said softly, "You can cry too. You're allowed." Anna sat down beside the bed, curled her knees to her chest, and wept silently while Walter rocked the baby, whispering to him about stars and rivers and all the things he hoped they would see one day. By the end of the week, something had changed in Anna. She laughed more. Not loudly, but freely. And sometimes when she held Eli, she would close her eyes and just breathe him in, as though memorizing his scent. She even let a nurse take a photo of the 3 of them, Anna, Walter, and baby Eli, her thin frame pressed into Walter's side, the baby asleep between them. That photo ended up framed at the nurse's station within the hour. Someone said, "They look like survivors." Someone else said, "They look like love." But not everyone was happy. On the 8th day, a woman appeared in the hospital lobby. Mid-40s. Expensive heels. A lawyer's tone. Her name was Gloria Josepha's estranged aunt. "I heard what happened," she said coolly. "I'm here to take the baby." Carla blinked. "Excuse me." "I'm family," she said, flipping open a folder. "My brother died last week, as I'm sure you know. That baby is my blood. I'm seeking custody." The news hit Anna like a freight train. She backed into the hallway, clutching Eli, eyes darting. "She never even liked Joseph," she whispered. "She didn't come to his funeral. Why would she want Eli now?" Gloria stood firm. "My brother's mistakes don't define this child. I can give him a stable home. One that doesn't include a teenage girl and an old man with one foot in the grave." Walter wheeled forward, jaw set. "That teenage girl is braver than anyone I've ever met. And I suppose you think you're fit to raise a baby?" Gloria scoffed. Walter didn't flinch. "I know love when I see it. And I see it in her." May arrived moments later, called by a nurse. Gloria handed her papers. "I'm filing for emergency custody." Anna's face went pale. "You can't do this. I have the means. You don't. It's that simple." Walter turned to May. "Tell me what we need to do. I'll sign it. I'll fight." May was quiet a long moment. Then she said, "We have to go to court." The hearing was scheduled for Friday. Until then, Eli was placed in temporary foster care, one of the most gut-wrenching moments of Anna's life. She sobbed as they took him from her arms. Walter held her while she screamed, his own face streaked with silent tears. For the next 3 days, the hospital felt like a tomb. Anna barely ate. She stared at the ceiling for hours. Walter tried to talk, to encourage her, but even his voice sounded defeated now. "They're going to take him," she said hollowly. "No," Walter whispered. "We won't let them." But even he sounded unsure. On Thursday, Anna received a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Inside was a single line. "You were born for more than surviving." No signature. She didn't recognize the handwriting, but something in it gave her just enough strength to stand. The courtroom was cold and sterile. Fluorescent lights, quiet typing from the stenographer, the judge's gavel resting like a thread on the bench. Gloria sat with her lawyer, confident. Walter sat beside Anna, holding her hand. May stood behind them both, firm and steady. Gloria's lawyer spoke first. Miss Kendrick is 17. She has no legal income, no education, no housing. Mr. Carter is 83, partially disabled, and lives in assisted care. The child deserves stability. Then it was Anna's turn. She stood slowly, voice trembling. I don't have much. That's true. But I have love. I have courage. I brought my baby here because I wanted him to have family. I didn't expect to find someone who wanted to be my family too. But I did. She turned toward Walter. I didn't grow up with kindness or hope, but now I know what those things feel like. Walter stood too. She's not alone. I'll be there. Every step. I may be old, but I've got a lot of life left and I intend to spend it helping them build one. The judge looked between them, then down at her notes. After a long silence, she said, this court will require a monitored 6-month guardianship under child welfare supervision. But pending that, Anna gasped. Custody is granted to Anna Kendrick and Walter Carter, effective immediately. Walter let out a laugh that turned into a sob. Anna dropped to her knees, hands over her mouth. Gloria stood in outrage, but the decision had already been made. Eli was coming home. That night, they returned to room 213. But this time, not as guests, not as victims, as a family. Anna kept staring at the paper in her hands, the official custody letter stamped with the court seal. She must have read it 20 times already, but she still couldn't believe it was real. She was Eli's mother. Officially, legally, undeniably. And somehow, impossibly, Walter Carter was now listed as the baby's legal co-guardian. In a world where no one had ever stayed, somehow the oldest man she'd ever met had chosen her. They didn't go back to the hospital that night. Instead, they moved into a temporary family shelter that May helped arrange one, with an accessible room on the first floor and a small nursery space already set up. Anna opened the door to their room and stepped inside first. She held Eli against her chest, breathing in his warmth. Walter rolled in behind her, eyes scanning the space. One twin bed, one cot, a rocking chair, a changing table, and a tiny bookshelf filled with donated baby books. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Anna turned slowly. We have a home. Walter smiled gently. And a start. In the first few days, life shifted into a strange new rhythm. Mornings were early. Diaper changes, bottles, soft lullabies sung under breath. Walter insisted on taking one night feeding a day, even if it meant Anna had to wake up just to hand him the baby. Don't argue, he grumbled when she tried. I raised 2 sons. I can manage one feeding. During the day, Anna met with caseworkers and a young counselor named Evan, who helped her register for a GED prep program. She dropped out of school at 15, but now it felt like there might be a reason to try again. Walter joined a local senior outreach group that met at the community library 3 days a week. He wheeled himself there and back, even though his hands ached. He told Anna it helped keep the rust off. On Fridays, they all went together to the park near the river. Anna would lay a blanket down while Walter read Eli poetry in a gravelly voice that made nearby mothers glance over and smile. Sometimes he'd fall asleep mid-sentence, the book slipping from his hand as the baby napped beside him. Anna always covered them both with a second blanket. The trauma didn't disappear. Sometimes Eli would scream for hours and Anna would sit on the floor, head in her hands, rocking silently, overwhelmed. Other times, she'd wake from nightmares so vivid she couldn't breathe, visions of Joseph blue-lipped and still, of herself giving birth in silence, alone. Walter would find her in those moments. He wouldn't say much, just hand her a glass of water and sit beside her until the shaking stopped. Once, she whispered, I keep thinking something's going to take him from me. Walter said, I used to think that too. About your son? He nodded. And I was right. The world took him, but now it gave something back. Maybe not to fix it, but to remind me it's not over. Anna stared at him through blurry eyes. How do you keep going? Walter leaned back in his chair. Because of him. Because of you. As the weeks passed, people started noticing them. Noticing how Anna never flinched anymore when someone offered help. How Walter was suddenly more present, more alive. How the baby laughed the loudest when both of them were in the room. The shelter staff talked about them quietly, with warmth in their voices. One staff member said, "I think they're healing each other." Another replied, I think they already have." On Eli's 2-month checkup, the pediatrician, Dr. Mendez, smiled as she watched Anna soothe him during his vaccinations. "You're a natural," she said. Anna's brows rose. "You think?" "I know." Later, in the elevator, Anna turned to Walter. "Did you hear that? A doctor said I'm a natural." He grinned. Took her long enough. Then, one rainy afternoon, Anna found an envelope tucked under their room's door. There was no return name, just her own in shaky script. Inside, a single page. "Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's letting go of the weight." Beneath it, 2 photos. One was of a teenage Joseph, smiling with his arms around an older man, Walter. The other was of a much younger Anna, maybe 6 or 7, with 2 women she didn't recognize. She stared at it for a long time. When Walter came back from his group, she showed him the pictures. His eyes lingered on Joseph. "That was the last summer we had together before the drug started." She didn't ask how he got them. She didn't ask who sent the note. Somehow, they both knew the past wasn't gone, but it didn't have to drag them down anymore. By the 4th month, Anna had started volunteering at the shelter daycare 3 days a week. She brought Eli with her in a sling. He was teething, gurgling, reaching for everything. The other mothers began to ask her questions. "How did you get help? How did you know to keep him? How do you stay so calm?" And she would say quietly, "I didn't. Not at first. But someone believed in me." That winter, Walter got sick. A bad case of pneumonia. He refused to be hospitalized until Anna begged. "I can't do this without you," she said, crying over his bedside. He squeezed her hand. "Yes, you can. But I don't want to." He smiled weakly. "That's different." She stayed every night at the hospital. Nurses brought her extra pillows, even though it wasn't allowed. Eli curled in her lap, quiet and alert, watching everything with curious eyes. Walter pulled through. It took 2 weeks, but when he came home, he was thinner and weaker, but still himself. Still hers. Still Eli's. One night, Anna asked, "Were you afraid?" Walter answered honestly. "Terrified." "Of dying?" "No. Of not finishing what I started." Anna laid her head on his shoulder. "You did finish it," she whispered. "You saved us." He chuckled. "I think you saved me first." Christmas came. They couldn't afford a tree, so Anna painted one on cardboard and taped it to the wall. They decorated it with paper stars cut from old newspapers and tinsel donated from the shelter's storage bin. Eli got 3 gifts: a soft blanket, a used set of blocks, and a framed photo of him with Anna and Walter taken during their first week home. When Anna unwrapped it, she started to cry. "I didn't think I'd ever be in a family photo," she said. Walter kissed her forehead. "Now you're the reason it exists." On New Year's Eve, the 3 of them stood outside the shelter, watching fireworks explode over the city. Anna held Eli tight against her chest, bundled in his tiny coat. Walter had a scarf wrapped up to his ears. When the sky lit up gold and green, Anna whispered, "I used to hate New Year's." "Why?" "Because it meant another year of nothing changing. And now," she looked at him, her eyes wide, almost childlike, "now I'm not afraid of what comes next." Walter took her hand, and for the first time in a long time, neither was he. Spring came slowly, washing the streets in pale green and lilac. The trees outside the shelter bloomed early that year, and every morning Anna opened the window just to let the scent in. Eli was crawling now loud and fast and laughed like every corner of the world was built just for him. He babbled nonsense and tried to eat his own socks. He cried when Walter left the room and grinned like the sun when Anna sang. They were thriving. One morning, Anna received a letter in the mail. This time, It had a return address. It was from Joseph's Aunt Gloria. Inside was a short note, written in careful script. You were right. I didn't come for the baby, I came for control. But I see now he's exactly where he's meant to be. You have my blessing. There was a single line under it. Tell Walter I'm sorry. Anna stared at it for a long time. Then she folded it neatly and placed it in the box under her bed, the one where she kept her son's hospital bracelet, Joseph's old photo, and her custody papers. She didn't hate Gloria anymore. She didn't have room in her heart for hate now. In early April, Walter asked for a day out. Just us, he said. Let's go somewhere. So Anna packed up a bag, buckled Eli into the stroller, and walked the 10 blocks to the lake with Walter rolling beside them. The breeze was soft, and geese skimmed across the water like feathered boats. They sat on a bench under a blooming dogwood tree. Walter looked up at the blossoms. My wife loved these trees, he said. We planted one in our backyard the year we were married. Anna turned to him. Did she pass a long time ago? Almost 20 years. You never remarried? Walter smiled gently. I don't think I was built for anyone else. Anna nodded slowly. I want that kind of love, she said. He looked at her. You already have it. You just don't see it yet. She shook her head. I don't mean the baby. I mean someone to walk with me. Someone who stays. Walter reached over, took her hand in his. I'm still here. Later that month, Anna received her GED test results. Passed. All sections. She screamed when she saw it, nearly waking Eli from his nap. Walter clapped, a full, delighted laugh tumbling from his chest. I knew it. You didn't even know what my score was yet. I didn't have to. I know you. They celebrated with ice cream from a street cart. Anna let Eli try a single lick, grimaced, and sneezed. Walter nearly choked laughing. Anna looked at them both, eyes misting. This is my life now, she whispered. And for the first time, it wasn't a question. Summer came fast. Walter's breathing became slower. At first, he blamed the heat. Then his legs started swelling. His appetite faded. Anna tried not to panic. But when he collapsed one morning in the hallway, she knew. They returned to the hospital where it had all started. Room 213. The staff still remembered them. Carla cried when she saw Walter. May arrived within the hour, silent and pale. The doctors confirmed what Anna feared. His heart was failing. It's time, the doctor said gently. We can manage the pain, but he should be home. With you. They brought him back to the shelter, then to a long-term care room down the street where Anna could visit every day. The night before the move, Anna sat beside him, holding his hand. Eli slept in the crook of her other arm. Walter looked at her, his face lined and peaceful. I'm not afraid, he said softly. She tried to smile, but tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm not ready, she choked. You are, he whispered. I don't want to do this without you. Walter placed a frail hand on hers. You won't. I'll always be here. She sobbed then deep, uncontrollable, for everything she had lost, and everything she had finally found. Walter let her cry. Then he said, There's something I want you to do for me. Anything. Tell him who his father was. Tell him who you are. Don't let the hard parts become the whole story. I promise. And love again. Someday. She shook her head. You will. You should. Let someone carry your heart. Don't let the past keep it buried. Then he looked at Eli, who had begun to stir. And tell him he was the light. Walter Carter passed quietly the next morning, with Anna holding his hand and Eli tucked beside him on the bed. The nurses said he went peacefully. Anna believed them, but it still shattered her. The funeral was small staff from the shelter, nurses from the hospital, a few old men from Walter's outreach group, and Anna holding Eli in a navy blue dress she had borrowed. She read the eulogy herself. Her voice shook, but her words didn't. Walter Carter saved my life without ever asking for anything in return. He wasn't just a grandfather, or a father, or a war vet. He was a bridge, one I walked across when I had nowhere else to go. He taught me how to be steady. He taught me that family isn't who you're born with. It's who shows up. And he showed up. She paused. He believed in me when I didn't know how to believe in myself. And now, every time I look at my son, I'll remember him. I'll remember the way he held him, the way he held me. And I'll know we are both better because he lived. In the months that followed, Anna moved into subsidized housing. She got a part-time job at a child care center and started community college classes at night. She framed a photo of Walter and Eli together, the one taken on the day they first came home. It sat on her nightstand. Every night, she told Eli a story, not from a book, but about the man who had saved them both. Years passed. Eli grew tall, curious, gentle-hearted, with eyes that watched the world like it was full of secrets worth discovering. Anna graduated from college, became a counselor for teens in crisis, girls who reminded her of herself. She kept Walter's old pocket watch in her desk drawer. Whenever she needed strength, she held it. On the day Eli turned 10, he asked, "Was Grandpa Walter my real grandpa?" Anna smiled. He was the realest man I've ever known. And one night, long after Eli had gone to bed and the apartment had gone quiet, Anna sat by the window and whispered into the dark, "I kept my promise." And the wind outside answered softly through the trees, like maybe, somewhere, he had heard.